I guess how could I help you out? And I definitely don't want to step on my parents' toes. Have you seen property with them, or how did you get connected with my parents?
Actually, I got connected with your parents through a couple of friends that bought with them, and your
Awesome.
parents were the ones. They were the they ended up being both the seller and the buyer's realtor.
Oh,
So
right,
yeah, they spoke very highly. They spoke very highly of your parents, and
right,
actually, um, yeah. So that's how we looked at a couple houses. We've just kind of pulled back for the moment, just 'cause
right.
it was the market. Like, there's a lot of kind of things that my husband and I don't agree on. What is a must-have for me,
Right.
but yeah, I mean, I actually haven't spoken with your parents for a couple of months now, probably since like April.
Okay. Yeah, it's well, I guess if you don't mind sharing just in terms and again, we help each other out, so I definitely am not stepping on their toes, but I can keep an eye out for you as well. We actually have my brothers and I, our very first purchase, we're getting ready to put that on the market in Camarillo. It's a smaller property, looks like one of the duplex homes. And but no HOAs, and it'll be under 600,000 for a three-bedroom, two bath. So it's going to get a lot of activity. The market is pretty, it's been limited inventory, low interest rates, so high buyer demand, so very competitive, especially over, I'm sure, the last few months that you've been keeping an eye on it, seeing how quickly everything's going. What are you guys looking for just in terms of, you mentioned, not agreeing on needs and wants. What are, some necessities for you?
So the one first necessity, and it was a bummer. I wish I could do a three-bedroom, but I can't do a three-bedroom because we're a family of seven.
Uh-huh.
So definitely, it'll have to be four-bedroom, um, minimum, a four-bedroom minimum.
Okay.
Just certain things, like it was nice that a couple of the houses we saw had solar,
Uh-huh.
because you can only imagine with five children at home, I'm trying to keep my utility costs as low as I can because they definitely run up my bill.
Right.
But that's pretty much if I can find solar, and definitely trying to keep it. Um, Now it's not a deal breaker. Okay, let me retract that.
Uh-huh.
It's anything under, like, let's say that 1,900 square feet, because like I said, there's seven of us.
Right.
That's way too small for us.
Right.
Um, we did look at the options, and I spoke with your mom and dad initially. Is that, hey, if there's a larger three-bedroom where maybe they had a potential loft that could have been converted to a room,
Uh-huh.
that was something we had thought about, because it feels like larger houses are really hard to come by in Camarillo. Oh, and that's the other factor. Has to be in Camarillo.
Okay. So in Camarillo, up to what price point are you looking at?
So that's another thing, and kind of, I'm actually glad that you called me. You'd mentioned in your home buyer series
Uh-huh.
about a couple of other purchasing options for like down payment assistance.
Uh-huh.
Now, because we are veterans,
Uh-huh.
I don't know if that's something we can do on top of each other.
Right. That's a great question. It's typically pretty challenging to try to take advantage of the you basically have to choose between the VA and then go in the down payment assistance route. The down payment assistance route is, and it's geared to try to help, similar to what VA does for military. It makes it so that, I mean, VA, you don't have to come in with the down payment, where most traditional FHA or conventional, you're coming in at least 3.5% down. So the down payment assistance program is to help with those that don't have a big down payment, but to try to stack it, it's challenging because the down payment assistance, there's a couple different, there's actually a few different types, but the main ones that we've helped people with, you either have to qualify under low income based on your household size and what your total income is, or you can go moderate income, which can go to a much higher dollar amount. Rates are a little bit higher, and it's different than your VA. So it's a portfolio loan that's more similar to like conventional. So it's a little bit better like a mortgage insurance, but you don't have mortgage insurance with VA. So a lot of times when buyers are looking and they have access to VA and they're looking, okay, do I do VA or down payment assistance? VA is going to blow it out of the water 9 times out of 10. It's almost every situation. If you can do VA, that's what you want to take advantage of. You have a higher debt to income ratio limit. The down payment assistance typically under 42%. VA can go higher over 50. Not that you want to, put yourself in debt that you can't handle the payments, but you're going to be able to go higher purchasing price wise that route. So does that make sense?
Yes, it does. That makes sense. And then you mentioned price range
Uh-huh.
because this isn't the first time that we owned a home in Virginia, so that's why I mentioned the whole must-haves. Because
Right.
after owning your own home, you're like, nope, not doing that again.
Right.
Yeah, you already know certain things like certain things that just won't fly anymore.
Right.
Now because it's we worked with Brett Mills.
Uh-huh.
We worked with Brett Mills. I'm not sure if you worked with Brett Mills and passed with financing, and I just because it's been some time since we've been in the buyer's market.
Right.
I know in Virginia we had to have a pre-approval letter beforehand.
Right.
I don't know if it's the same in California. And the other caveat that I want to make is when I spoke with your parents is that income-wise we have the income, but because we are a family of 7,
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to keep our mortgage under a certain threshold, because
Okay.
at some point that family of 7,
Right.
it catches up, because I don't want to be house poor.
No.
I don't want to change my living expenses. I don't want to change how my family lives, because we live in a military housing here in Camarillo.
Okay.
So it's already super updated.
Right.
So we want to keep that's where we're kind of like, I'm okay spending extra. I just don't know, do I have to go back through the pre-approval to know the number?
Right.
Because when I even approached Brett, I told him, I don't want you, I was flat out, and I'll be flat out with you.
Right.
I don't like to, I don't, I told Brett, okay, I don't want you to tell me how much I can afford.
Right.
Because then if I start looking at that price, in that price range, and I fall in love with something,
Right.
and then I get the mortgage, I'm going to be eating, my entire family's going to be eating like a college kid.
Right.
For like the next 30 years.
No.
I said, this is where I want my mortgage to stay.
Right.
Tell me, based on what I'm pre-qualified, what will get me to that mortgage.
Right.
So I look at it kind of reversed.
No, that's the right way to look at it. So I think that's a very responsible way. What is your comfort zone? Do you mind sharing roughly where you're trying to keep your mortgage?
So if I look up, okay, I'd like to say at 4,000.
Uh-huh.
At that 4,000 range, we could stretch a little bit more, but of course I know it depends on the pre-approval and the rate.
Right.
We did have to short sell our home in Virginia.
Okay.
That's another thing.
Right.
I don't know if I feel like, because when Brett had given us the rate,
Uh-huh.
the rate was a lot higher. So I know that brought down our
Purchasing power.
Yeah, purchasing power.
How long ago was the short sale in Virginia?
What year is it? 2020. So I want to say 2015.
15. Okay. So 2015, and then yeah, and I know enough to kind of give ballpark ideas. It's obviously the financial expert, and Brett is. I've heard great things. I personally have not worked with him. I've spoken to him once. I know my parents do a good amount of business with him, and they only work with people they trust and they respect. So that's enough for me to feel comfortable with what it is that he shared with you. As terms of being the most recent. There are other options out there, and I'm not saying it's worth it to check it or do it. Did you get everything to Brett when you spoke to him, or were you just kind of going over some preliminary numbers, or did?
No, we did the whole process.
Okay.
We did the pre-approval, and I know that was one contingency.
Right.
Where they were asking, well, what are they approved till? They're like, well, no, the buyer was very specific. They want to keep their payment at this rate.
Right. Where did that put you ballpark for the 4,000 a month with that rate at that time?
Well, at that time we were looking at a much lower a lower mortgage payment. We were looking no more than 3,500.
Uh-huh.
But since the last time I spoke with your parents,
right.
I've since been promoted, so income went up. Income went up
Congrats.
a little bit. So okay, I have a little bit more income,
right.
and I could swing the extra 500.
Right. Well, that's huge. At the 3,500, where did that put you at for purchase price? Do you remember?
Oh my gosh, I don't remember. I want to say, I don't remember because it was. I want to say we were looking at a house that were like between anywhere between the 75 to 700 range,
Okay.
and I know that's a pretty hard sell for one Camarillo.
Right. Yeah, for the four bedrooms in camera right now, it is very competitive under 700,000. For it, the inventory is just so low. Doesn't mean it's going to stay that way. And there's a lot of speculations based on elections how that can go, the impact that it can have. There are I'm still seeing inventory come in, and I look at a bunch of places even outside of Camarillo. Even though I live in Camarillo, and this is also where I specialize, but yeah, I mean, the good news is the promotion should be huge for you. And if you can comfortably handle that extra 500 a month, getting up to the 4,000 bracket, it would be well worth your time to either reconnect with Brett. I would talk to my parents. Are you okay with me giving them the heads up that we had this conversation?
Oh yeah, I'm
Okay.
perfect. I'm perfectly fine. Like I said, most of the factors. I mean, we did have some personal finance stuff that I wanted to clear first, like recommendations. Okay, we'll clear this.
Right.
Clear this, and this is what you need to get to.
Uh huh.
We've made some progress, so that's kind of. But then our biggest factor is, like you mentioned, super low inventory.
Yep.
Super low inventory, and I just kind of felt like we were up against the wall, considering the market was still very
Right.
just volatile because we were pretty aggressively looking at the start of the pandemic.
Right. Yeah, and that's also. I mean, I know this year's been a very interesting and competitive year. The one thing I can say about my parents and how we work. Number one, they always work with you at your pace. So no matter whatever is the best case scenario for you, or even if it's not in your best interest to move forward on a situation, they'll tell you. Everything
Oh,
about
they
them,
did.
yeah, is always to make sure that they're putting you in the best position to succeed and possible. And that's the way they brought myself and my brothers into the business, which is huge. And that's part of the reason why we do get referrals, and the word of mouth is so important to us. So that's awesome to hear that you were recommended by a buyer seller situation, and that doesn't always work out well, you know what I mean, when representing both sides, but it takes the right type of agent to be able to handle that. So I think it's awesome news in terms of your promotion. I do see things, and there are some properties, and again, it's all up to what you're open to in terms of most homes, I should say, a lot of homes, especially if they have the look, they fit what you want in terms of ideal neighborhood, in Camarillo, bedrooms, baths, size, and everything. Typically, those are going to still have a lot of activity. So you have to be aggressive. You got to have all your ducks in a row. You got to know your numbers, and it would be worth it to reconnect with Brett since he had everything. He'll probably need some recent documentation from you, but to tell you exactly where you're at. And then once he tells you that, and you hear based on where the interest rates are today, then you can, not that you have to buy anything now, but you're going to be able to watch what happens from now to the end of the year, because I got a feeling that there's going to be some good opportunities that do come up. Now, most people, a lot of sellers will wait until January, February, but this year's been an unusual year. And then, so you mentioned you started looking very aggressively at the start of the pandemic. They shut everything down. So our normal spring rush got pushed back to the last 3 months. So the last 3 months for us have been insane, which is usually a slower time when kids get out of school to about 4th of July. It almost dies to nothing. I mean, really slow, where this year it was like the busiest that we've ever been in terms of buyers being motivated to buy something. Some properties were coming on, but not fast enough. More buyers were purchasing faster versus the inventory that was coming in. So that's what's kept kind of this demand happening right now. Well, we've seen some of it slow down just a little bit, but then I just showed another property that was a fixer upper at 615. It was a 4 bedroom. It was the one on Edgemont. Did you see that one come up on Edgemont in
I think
Camarillo?
I did.
Huge.
I think yeah.
Yeah, huge yard, 15,000 square foot lot, great area, central Camarillo, and needed a lot of work at 615. I knew that one would go out about 665 plus. Sure enough, within a few days, they had 50 showings, 50 showings on that property. Fixer property, a kitchen original, bathroom a little updated, but not much, and then when you went in, it was livable, but you needed to redo everything. But it was on a premium piece of land, which it's almost double the size of a lot that any home in Camarillo has. 7,500 is pretty common. This one was over 15,000 square foot. So that was the reason, and they priced it low to generate that activity. Then I saw a price increase to 650, which was very close, and I'm sure it went out higher than that because they got that kind of activity. So you're getting that on some properties, and a lot of that does happen in Camarillo. On the other hand, you'll watch other homes that you still see in active status. So when you're looking at the properties on the site, make sure it doesn't say active with contingent. Because if it says active with contingent, that means it's in escrow. And it still shows up on there. And then it'll show up on Zillow and it'll show up on other sites as well. They did accept an offer, but it's still, there's two different statuses, meaning they accept an offer. Active, for our site, it says active with contingent, with contingency. On the MLS, it's active under contract or pending. If you see either of those two, that means they accepted an offer. So you can filter it though and just put it where it takes off the pending or with contingency and just make it so it's just active properties showing. So if you haven't seen it or figured it out how to do it on the site yet, you can save searches and map out all at Camarillo so that you get everything as soon as it hits the market. It'll send you an update. And then I can also, because we just actually updated, I mean, this site is awesome. We just updated everything. It took 2 weeks for it to fully go through. My parents and I actually both invested in it because I was going to do it for my team. And I just shared with them, I said, we have to do this for the company, and I'm glad that they were agreeable to it too, because it's going to help a lot with our clients, help a lot with agents, help with everybody in having the best technology that's available. But this site is really going to help you just in terms of staying on top of it. And they could even set you up on a market report that will actually show you the average days on market so you can see when the home goes pending. Because a lot of times you'll search for a home and then it'll disappear, like on Zillow or Redfin or any of those sites, just means that they accepted an offer. This, on that market report, you can see all the active, pending, and sold, so you can see what's happening and truly just learn the market. And watch what's happening. So we can help set you up on that. Would that be helpful for you?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Especially like I said, like I told you, this isn't our first time buying. So
right.
That's why the one good thing is we're not contingent on selling a property.
Right.
We're not in a hurry to buy.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, it's about the end of the year. Let's start looking again.
Good.
Let's start looking again if something pops up. And like I know that you had mentioned you had never worked with Brett, and
right.
just because I don't know how all of this works, I don't know. It's just a little bit different than the way Virginia ran it versus here.
Right.
Is it not in our best interest? Let's say if I get a quote from, let's say we decide to work with you,
uh-huh.
To look at other financial institutions because.
No, that's okay. It's a great question. It's always good to work with who you feel comfortable with. And I mean, just in speaking just frankly, how did you feel with Brett in terms of when you spoke to him? Was he prompt in terms of answering your calls, your questions? Was he thorough? Did you feel he was looking out for your best interest? I know it's a bunch of questions, but what was your general feeling from Brett?
Yes, that was my. I did get that feeling when I spoke with him. I know there was just a little bit of apprehension on my husband's side that because he is based down in San Diego,
right.
Is that okay? Well, the hard part is we were looking at investors don't want like I said, start of the pandemic when everything was really really uncertain. Where
right.
Okay, they don't want to take you guys on and want to listen to your home buying series, and then I have friends who are in similar situations,
uh-huh.
even certain financial situations. I'm like, well, how are they able to do it? Like,
right.
I feel like I just wanted to get a second opinion. It had nothing to do with him.
Okay. It was really
for a second opinion.
No, that's awesome to hear. And just so you know, and I don't know if we talked about it in the home buyer workshop, you probably saw Jason Haroldson, I'm guessing, on there. Was he on there with me when I did
was some, because I dialed into both of your home buying.
Okay.
Just because I'm like, this is a new market. It's
right.
been, 5 years since we purchased, and so much has changed.
Yeah, so Jason on there, he's who I typically work with. I didn't want to try to push him because again, I don't want to step on my parents' toes or Brett's toes. Um, it's easier just because Brett has just about everything together. But if you do want to get a second opinion, Jason is somebody who I trust, and it's worth talking to him. And then, hopefully you're hearing a lot of the same things from both of them. And then all it does is just confirm everything that Brett shared with you. And at the end of the day, you work with who you click with, who you feel comfortable with. Jason is local. Um, there can be an advantage to it. The biggest thing as you're looking for your representation is looking at. So my parents have a great reputation, and everybody in Camarillo knows my parents. They've been doing this for a long time. They know they're good. They know they're honest, and they know they get the job done right. So their word carries a lot of weight. So even though Brett's based out of San Diego, they've had no issues getting offers accepted because of their reputation. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a good valid question. If did you guys write any offers at that time early on when you were looking?
He did. We had gotten preliminary pending. We did preliminary offers
Uh-huh.
On a couple of houses. They were just never. They weren't sent to the seller because that was when we got to the point where my husband and I didn't agree.
Okay.
I was like, well, we already have the offers written.
Right.
Like, we don't even know if they're going to say yes. Like,
Right.
I don't understand. And that's where that was more on our side where
Right.
it was, like I said, we live in the Camarillo, that military housing.
Right.
Super comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, they don't have this, they don't have that. I'm like, well, I mean, it's just dirty. We can change the carpet.
Right.
That was most of the challenges.
Right.
That's where it became, where the buyers, the buyers themselves between them weren't agreeing on the home.
Right. So an offer actually never got submitted. You got to where you would prep an offer, but didn't come to an agreement in terms of moving forward on it, right? Just based on the condition of the homes you were looking at. Well, my hope is since you are able to handle a higher mortgage now, especially trying to be right, if you were right around the 675 to 7 price point, it's still competitive, as I mentioned before. If you can go up just a little bit higher than that and still stay at your 4, you're going to be in great shape. And just because it's not that it's, it can be competitive up to $1 million. So I don't want to give you a false notion that once you get over 7, you're fine. But there is a difference in the quality of home that you're looking at based on the low 6s versus in the low 7s. That $100,000 difference does make a difference. And while the inventory is low right now, one popped up on Dunnigan. We live on Dunnigan, right across the street from us. And Dunnigan's kind of a busier street for Central Camarillo. But it came on at $699. Beautiful home, got a lot of activity quick. So what you want to find out is where you're at today so that numbers-wise where you're comfortable. And then as the homes come on, we're hopeful that it's somebody that we have a really good relationship with, which is a lot of the agents here in Camarillo. And then it's going to give you an edge, even if it's in a multiple offer situation, because not everybody is turning it into a bidding war. A lot are, but not everybody's doing that. In some situations, like I mentioned, my family, we're going to be putting our home up in Mission Oaks. I think it's definitely going to be too small for you. It's like under 1150 square feet. But we sold the neighbor's house. She took the first offer in 3 days that she got on it because she was in escrow on her next purchase. So she wasn't playing games. She wasn't trying to, wait a week and bid the property up. Those situations still do come up. It's not all over the place, but that's why you have to be prepared and ready and see what's coming up and know the market so that you're in position if an opportunity like that comes up that you can seize that opportunity and lock it up before it turns into that multiple offer situation. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes perfect sense.
Okay. I want to, I definitely want to help out in any way that I can, but I also want to make sure that I reach out to my parents, let them know that we spoke, and that's so cool that you registered on the site, because it came to me, and I just wanted to make sure that I was doing my job, in reaching out. But I'm glad we connected, and I'm hoping that from what I've shared with you, obviously you can reach out. This is my cell here, but being that my parents have worked with you, I don't want to cross any lines there with them. So I'd like to talk to them, let them know that that you've had the promotion, and you're debating on where you're at. Are you comfortable with me doing that?
Comfortable, yes, very
Okay,
comfortable. I'm
awesome.
sorry that I took so much of your time.
Don't be. No, it's we all help each other out. So it's I hope that it confirms again what I shared. I hope it confirmed what my parents were sharing earlier in the year. But things have changed as of late, so it would be good to reconnect. And then I'll also keep an eye out too. And if I see something, we let each other know about it as well. You know what I mean? So that you just have more eyes out there. My wife's she's a licensed agent. Three of out of my three brothers, two of them have their licenses, and one of their spouses does as well. So we all talk and we all keep eyes out there. And then I have another assistant that just joined the team. Her name's Yvette. She's a licensed agent, also very connected, knows quite a bit of people as well. So sometimes we hear about opportunities before they even hit the market, and it's just key to know, okay, what buyers are looking for what properties. So now that I know, I'm definitely going to keep it in mind, and I'll let my parents know to reach out to you if it does come up. But yeah, any way we can help out, we're here for you.
Okay, thank you so much.
No problem. Any other questions that you have for me personally before I just relay the message to my parents?
No, no other questions. You gave me a lot of information, and I'm really grateful for that.
Awesome. Well, I know it's a very overwhelming process. Just all I can say is I do feel, and I'm not saying it just because it's my parents, you couldn't have picked better agents in terms of just being professional and not being the high pressure sales type agents that you can get out there. Not to talk about anybody else. But that's about as good of a position you can put yourself in. So very confident that you are going to find the right home that fits your family. And any way I can help as well, don't hesitate, okay?
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Brandon. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
You too, Christina. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right, take care. Bye-bye.